in February of 2008. Before that, she worked for High Plains Public Radio for 7 years. She's also worked for News Channel 10, KGNC, and Amarillo Globe News. That's pretty cool. Tell them I did not read before I got here. I did not know all this about you. You're just growing as we sit here. Stacy received her undergraduate from Austin College in Sherman, Texas, and her master's from West Texas A&M. She is currently enrolled, actually she's currently graduated with a certificate of ministry programs at Austin Theological Seminary. She's an active member of St. Luke's Presbyterian Church, where she serves on several committees. She is the coordinator for open and affirming congregations of the Texas Panhandle and serves on the Religious Affairs Committee of the local NAACP chapter. In her spare time, Stacy enjoys reading. Yay! Do we have stuff for you? Painting, hiking, and camping. Okay. So please welcome Stacy.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Oh, okay, no pressure.
Not at all.
Everything, I always like for everything I say to just, go off into the ether and disappear. So, okay, so yes, I'm Stacy. I work for the Amarillo Public Library. I've been there for a long time, and it's the coolest job I've ever had. And I will just warn you, it's not really a warning, but so I can talk for a really long time about the library. I'm just going to say that. So feel free to, wave wildly, whatever, because there's a lot to talk about where the library is concerned, and I want to, I don't want to leave anything out, but I also want to tell you about the things that you came here to hear about. So I'm going to start with a couple of things that Karen and I talked about, and then I'll go on and I'll just talk about the library a little bit. So, okay, so to start with, one of the things Karen told me that you might be interested in is if you've written a book or you're part of an anthology and you are interested in your book being in the library collection, how do you pursue that? So the easiest way to do that is to go onto our website. You can actually, there's a little bar across the top that says, how do I? You hover over that, another menu pops up, and you can say, suggest an edition. So there's an online form that you can fill out, and you can say, I wish you would add this book to your collection, and explain why. Now, we have a librarian, a professional librarian, who is in charge of acquisitions for the collection, and she's not the only one doing that. So that's a thing about our collection that's kind of interesting. We have lots of people involved with that. We have members at our branches who are putting forward requests for the collection, and those are based on things that patrons are asking for, things that they hear, things that they know. Like, we have this series and it checks out a lot, and the new series, the new edition or the new episode, that's not right, the new book in the series is coming out, and we want to be sure to have that ready as soon as possible. We also have a youth services coordinator who sort of oversees everything to do with youth acquisitions. And so other people in the library will request things, she will review them, they go through our acquisitions librarian, and they go through the assistant director and the director of library services. So there's lots of levels. We do have people who stop by the library with a couple of copies of their book and say, I want to donate these, I wish you would put them in the collection, and you are welcome to do that. It's not absolutely guaranteed that they will go in the collection. We do give some deference to local writers. If your book is set here, if you are from here, then we probably give you a closer look than some self-published book from Connecticut, for example, since we're dissing on Connecticut today. It's a lovely state. Anyway, but there are a lot of things that go into consideration about what goes into the collection. Again, if you're a local author, chances are we will put your book in the collection. one of the things you can do when you're making these requests is you can say, you know, I have strong personal feelings about the East Branch Library because that's where I went and got on the computers to do my writing, or that's where I went to story time growing up, and you can say it would mean a lot to me to have the book at that particular collection. The kinds of things that are going to be considered are, you know, relevance and quality. So hopefully you have gotten an editor for your work, and you have a good quality book that you're submitting. So I'll tell you this story. This was years ago when, you know, we were young and naive, and a colleague of mine and I did a book club. And there was this book, and it was written by someone who was not from here, but had chosen to set the book here. And the, I think it was the Globe News, had written a little article because he was going to be passing through. And so we had a book club that met once a month, and we were like, well, why don't we read this guy's book that we just heard about? And y'all, it was dreadful. It was really badly edited. The grammar was bad. The punctuation was bad. It was bad. So we had bought some copies of the book for the collection because it was going to be read by our book club, but they didn't stay in the collection very long. That's just true. And I know y'all are writers. Y'all know this. Y'all know this. But that is a consideration. So that's what you do. I will be glad to give you all my contact information if you want to get in touch with me with any other questions, but that's the procedure. You can use our website. You can call and make an appointment and drop by. I'm going to tell you, not every book that gets dropped off ends up on the shelves. That's just true because we have limited shelf space. So,
I'm just curious, do y'all have a section of books that are just by local authors?
So we have a special collection in our reference department. It's literally called Special Reference. And we do keep copies of books there that are by local authors, but they are reference books. They actually can't be checked out. And some of that is for preservation and archiving. Because y'all mentioned Jody Thomas, for example. She's written lots of books. They've been bestsellers. Some of the books that were her earliest books are hard to find now. So we want to keep those because she is a part of Texas Panhandle history. So we have some books like that are part of the special reference collection.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, there's not a special shelf that's like just local authors.
For fiction. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so the other question that Karen said she wanted me to talk to you about was book signings. You've written a book, you've published a book, you have physical copies of your book, and you want to sell them and sign them. And there is a procedure for that as well. There's a form that you fill out that is a book signing application. I brought copies of it with me. What you do in that case is you fill out that application and you actually send it to my colleague, Cynthia Hunt. She is our program specialist, and she can start the ball rolling. We have some rules about that. One is, to some extent, you know, we do consider if you're local. If you happen to be driving through town on your way from California to Ohio, and you think, oh, I'll stop and do a book signing at the Amarillo Public Library, we probably don't have time for that. If you're local, if your book is locally relevant in some way, that matters. Quality matters too. Some of the rules that we have been created in response to particular things that happened. We have a rule that if we give you a book signing, we give you a table and you know, a chair and all that we don't handle your book sales for you, and that you can't call out and stop people as they're going about their library business, because we had an author who did that once. You know, we gave him a table he could sit at, and people were on their way to, you know, look at the mysteries or the movies or whatever, and he'd stop, hey, you want to hear about my great book? And everybody was, I don't want to be rude, but no. So now we have a rule about that. We'll give you a table. Sometimes we will be able to help you set up something that is like a reading in addition to just sitting there with your book signing. But that kind of depends a little bit on what we think the audience will be for that, and if we can fit it in with some other programming that we're doing. So again, there's the application. We have another rule that you have to have the price of your book clearly posted. We had a book signing once that we did, and it was a great book. It was a great writer, but the book was really expensive. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, this sounds nice. I'll go. I'll buy a copy of this book." And then they got up and found out what it was. And again, they were in an awkward position because they were like, "I don't know if I want it that much." So that has to be clearly posted so people know what they're getting into when they think about purchasing your book. But for the most part, we want to work with you. We want to help you. When we schedule a book signing, we will make flyers about it that we will post in the library. We will include it on our list of emails that go out to people. So, we want to help you. We want you to be successful. And there's an application to fill out. So, any questions about that? Any other questions about that? Yeah.
How's the attendance to those? What do you think?
It depends. I mean, it really is just wildly different from book to book, and it depends on, the content. We have tended to have really good attendance on books that have to do with Native Americans because of where we are in our community, and so, and I said books, but really programs. Native American programs tend to be very popular, so that's a thing. If you've got a following and you can invite your friends and you can ask your friends to invite their friends, then that makes a difference. Sometimes if you can get together with a couple of friends and you can say, "Hey, I wrote a book and he wrote a book and she wrote a book. Can the three of us come and do our book signing at the same time?" Then you might get a little bit more critical mass if you all invite your friends and ask your friends to invite their friends. There is no way of knowing. And to some extent, that's like any library program. I mean, we do a library program and we say, "Oh, we're gonna make bookmarks at this program," and sometimes 50 people show up and sometimes 3 people show up. And we don't register people for most of our programs, so we don't know what's going to happen.
What's the most popular time that you found works the best?
Oh.
Is it a weekday evening or a weekend afternoon?
I mean, we've had them at all different times. I mean, I guess I would say if you wrote a book because it was the book you wanted to read, then when would you want to go to the book signing? Because when are the people who are like you and wanted to read this book, when would they want to go to the book signing? Like me, I want to go on my way home from work because when I get home, I don't want to go anywhere else. I tend to try to schedule things if they're on the weekend kind of early on a Saturday morning, because if you put it at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, that just splits the whole day. And if somebody has something else going on, they can say, "Well, I don't know. I wanted to go hike in the canyon, and I can't do that if I'm planning to be somewhere at 1 o'clock." Things like that. I mean, we've done book signings at all different times. We have done them on Sunday afternoons. We have done them on weekday evenings. We've done them on Saturday mornings. And I cannot think of a formula that makes one more successful than another. Yeah.
What length of time are they usually set up for?
They're no more than 90 minutes. If you want to say, like, I'm going to be there for half an hour because that's how much time I have, that's fine with us, but no more than 90 minutes. And when we set up your table, we will set it up in the library where people can see you. We won't shove you in a meeting room. Unless you're doing a reading. If it has turned into an actual program, then we probably will put you in a meeting room. But if you're just going to show up with your books and sell your books and sign your books, we will give you a table where people can see you. And you're kind of on your own. Yeah.
When you fill out the application, do you request a certain branch, or does the library help you decide if they're having a program here, that's where you need to be?
You make a request, and then we tell you whether or not we can do that. Like, for example, if you said something like, I want to do it at the Southwest branch at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and we would say, they have story time at that time. That's not a good time for us. So you ask for what you want, and we consider your requests. And Cynthia's going to call you, and she's going to say, that doesn't work for us, but we were thinking maybe you could be at the Southwest Branch Library, but at this time. Or maybe you could be at that day and time, because we ask you for dates. But we think that we should put you downtown, or, whatever. Any other questions about that? Okay, so just a reminder, I did bring copies of the form with me. I will pass them out. Again, you're welcome to have my contact information for any other questions you have, and Cynthia's number and email are on that form as well. She's the first person that goes to, and then it goes from there. So, yes.
Question, not necessarily about getting our books in, but are you seeing a trend in what people are reading? Or is it seems like people are reading more, but I don't know if they're going to the library and checking out books.
What I can tell you is that our libraries are busy. Our libraries are busy, and our online resources that allow people to download books or audiobooks are also busy. So, I don't know. Every now and then you hear these things and people say, well, most people don't even read one book a year. But our libraries are busy. So I don't know if it's just that the rest of us are reading so many books.
You have to meet your Goodreads challenge goals.
That's right. That's right. But our libraries are busy. And, people come to our libraries for many reasons. And we love that. But honestly, books is still the main reason. And we work really hard to be sure that our collection is diverse, that our collection is broad, that our collection is fairly large. We don't want people saying, well, I read every book in the library. That is not possible. Our collection is very large. So, and I don't know if I could, Catherine would be able to answer that better than I, because she's our acquisitions librarian. I think to some extent we're all in our little bubble, because we read the things that we like to read, and we tend to talk to people who read the things that we like to read. So I don't know that I could talk about trends. I think there are some genre that are always popular. Mysteries, westerns always have their audience.
Yeah.
There's kind of a weird thing that's been going on for, I don't know, I guess the last 20 years or so. God, I'm old. That whole paranormal romance thing. I don't know how huge it is, but it's very visible. So yeah, there's a lot of, vampires falling in love with werewolves, and shapeshifters being super excited to meet humans, and that's a thing. But again, that's a very specific genre.
But they're rabid.
But they are rabid, yes.
Rabid.
And that's the thing. But that's the thing, if you love reading Tolkien, then you're going to go look for the other things that are like that. So if you have a very dedicated following, even if they're small, they can keep that genre relevant. Yeah.
Sorry, I have one.
You're fine.
So I am part of an anthology that's
gonna come out in the fall, and it got picked up by the library market. Can you explain what that is? Is that like a hardcover that will be marketed just to libraries?
I'm going to have to admit that I have no idea. I would have to ask Catherine what the library market is. I do not know. So you're part of an anthology. You got something published in the anthology?
Yes, it's authors. They're part of Western Writers of America, and they're all over the country. And it's going to be an ebook, I think a print soft cover, and then another publisher bought the library market rights. Whatever
That
that
could
is.
be. I don't know because that could actually be they bought the rights to sell it to libraries.
Yes.
But
And that's a hardcover, right? Y'all mainly buy hardcovers?
Not
Or
necessarily.
print, like that's a whole other thing? Anyway.
I'm sorry, I do not know the answer to this. Now I'm going to have to ask Catherine, and Catherine will know. So we do tend to buy hardcover books more than softcover books, and that's for durability. But also a lot of books in, I don't know, the last 30, 40 years are published in what's called that trade paperback, which, you know, they're a little bigger format.
Yes.
The covers are a little better quality. They're a little, they're cheaper to produce than a hardcover, but they're a little better quality than, say, a mass market paperback. And of course, the publishing world, they want to publish it as a hardcover, and then a few years later as a trade paperback, and then later as a mass market paperback, because that's different selling opportunities. The people who wouldn't buy the $25 hardcover may buy the $9 mass market paperback. So that's why a lot of times you'll see a book in several different formats.
That's good.
So, any other questions about those things we've talked about? Okay, so just a couple of other things, because I know we've already talked for probably about as long as you want to hear me. But if you don't know, and I brought some flyers about some of these things, but if you don't know, there are 5 libraries in the Amarillo Public Library System. Our main library is in the center of the city, right over there. I have no sense of direction. Roughly over there. In the center of the city, and then we have a branch library in every quadrant of the city. Our city was well planned decades ago to be sure that library services would be available to everyone. And we are able, and that means that, you know, wherever you live, wherever you work, you're not going to be too far away to visit one of our libraries. We offer a lot of great services beyond just, you know, you can come and check out books and movies and audiobooks. We have computers at all of our libraries. We have free Wi-Fi for our card holders at all of our libraries. We do some great programs at our libraries. We have story times. For kids, we do programs that each of our libraries will generally do at least one program for kids every month. We also have programs for teenagers and programs for adults. At the downtown library, one of our new things that we started working on before the pandemic, we worked on it through the pandemic, and we're able to open it as things were opening up again, is our maker space. Our maker space is exactly what it sounds like. It's a space where you can come and make things. It's got sewing machines. It's got a long arm quilting machine. It has supplies for paper crafts and jewelry crafts. The tools are all free to use. There are a lot of supplies that are free to use as well. The community was really generous to us when we opened the makerspace and donated a lot of fabric and sewing notions and craft supplies. There are some things that we might charge you for. For example, we have 3D printers. If you use one of the 3D printers, we might charge you for the filament. But if you've got an Amarillo Public Library card or a Harrington Library Consortium library card, you can use the makerspace, and there's no charge for that.
Do they offer classes? Do you all offer classes?
We haven't so far done specific classes. Every now and then we'll have a group that will come in, but everyone who works in the makerspace knows how to use it, so you can come in. We've had people come in and say, I was thinking I'd try to learn how to sew, and our staff helps them. We've had people come in and do repair things. You know, some people are coming in and making great things from scratch. Some people come in and fix the strap on their backpack. It's an amazing thing. We have some big events coming up in the next few months that I would love for you to know about and participate in. The first one that is coming up in just a couple of weeks is Amicon. Amicon is our pop culture convention. If you are into science fiction or comic books or anime, I like to say that Amicon is a celebration of everything that is geeky and awesome. And so this is a 2-day event. It happens at the Amarillo Civic Center. It's one of the few things we do where there is an admission charge, but we work very hard to keep Amicon the most affordable con in the country. And so you can come for one day for $8 or both days for $10. So it's about the cost of a movie. You can come for 2 days and be entertained and amazed. There's another con that has a $15 one-day admission for youth. So that's just by way of comparison.
When did you say that is?
It's going to be August 3rd and 4th. It is at the Amarillo Civic Center. Starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday and goes until 7. Although when we close the vendor halls, we have the Geek Prom, so that's fun. And then we're open Sunday afternoon as well. We have some great authors coming. This year, we have Mark J. Gregson. He wrote a novel called Sky's End, which is a sort of post-apocalyptic fantasy science fiction. It's really good, y'all. I liked it a lot. And so he's coming. That was his first novel. The sequel to it will be coming out next year. And we have Martha Wells, who wrote the Murderbot Diaries. She also wrote Witch King and so many other books. She's written several series, science fiction and fantasy both. The Murderbot Diaries is a series of novellas. So they're fast reads and they are science fiction, but they are they ask some interesting questions, and they're funny.
Hugo Award winning.
Yes, she's won. Martha Wells has won all the awards. The Hugo, the Nebula, the Locus. I think she's won all of them. And so they're funny, they're thought provoking, and they're very moving. I'm not kidding. Book 2, I ugly cried. It's a great book. So we also have some voiceover actors coming, and I'm so excited. Michael Threets is coming. And if you don't know who Michael Threets is, look him up on TikTok. He is a librarian from California who just became huge for telling library stories, for telling stories about story times and how libraries change lives. And he's always so excited about,
What's his last name again?
it's Threets. It's spelled Threets.
Oh, okay.
And he will be there Sunday. He can't be there Saturday, but he'll be there Sunday. He's going to do a story time for us, and he's going to do a Q&A. And I'm so excited about that. I'm just verklempt. Anyway, so that's our next big event. And tickets for Amicon, which are actually wristbands, will go on sale the next week at the downtown library, probably Wednesday. But most people just buy them at the door. The next big event after that is our book sale, which is going to happen in September. We have 2 more book sales this year. One is September 6th through 8th, and then the last one is December 6th through 8th. The books that are in the book sale are books that have been withdrawn from the library collection or donated to the Friends for their sale. And it's a brown bag book sale. So that means you go and you fill a grocery size bag with whatever you want, and you pay one price. So it's $7.50 a bag. So if you're a good packer, you can do very well. We've actually added a discount that will let you, if you bring your own reusable bags, not paper bags, because that would be really confusing. Like, is that really a bag you brought in with you? Anyway, so if you bring your own reusable bags, it's only $7 a bag. And you get a discount if you buy 3. So $7.50 or 3 for $20, or 7 or 3 for $18. All of the funds raised through the book sales and also Amicon go to support Friends of the Amarillo Public Library. And they are an independent nonprofit organization that supports the library by providing funds for the things that we do that are not covered by taxpayer dollars. So the citizens of Amarillo, through their taxes, pay for our buildings, pay for our staff, pay for our collection. They don't pay for milk and cookies at a story time if we do that. They don't pay for yarn at a knitting program. Well, now we have donated yarn from the makerspace. But once upon a time, we would do knitting programs and the friends would buy us yarn. They don't pay for visiting authors, for example. The friends have purchased new Storytime rugs for us. They purchased curriculum and equipment for our free English as a Second Language classes. So they do a lot for us, and these are their fundraisers. So the book sale, and I have a bookmark with all these details. The book sales are coming up this year. Amicon is coming up in about 2 weeks. And then in October, on October 8th, this is on the bookmark too, we have Books to Broadway, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a concert of songs from Broadway musicals based on books. Dr. Robert Hansen is our producer every year. He chooses the songs and recruits the singers. We always have a theme. This year's theme is Magical Broadway. So we're going to have songs from Broadway musicals based on books that are about magic. So we can have Peter Pan, we can have Brigadoon, we can have Camelot, we can have Wicked. There's a lot of stories and Broadway shows that they'll highlight. I don't know for sure which ones they'll choose, but it'll be awesome. The concert is actually free to attend, even though it is a fundraiser for the Friends. You can attend for free. We do get sponsors, and we have a silent auction, and we sell premium tickets. So that's how it becomes a fundraiser. Premium tickets mean you get to sit a little bit closer, and you get some drink tickets along with your ticket. But at the event, there's free desserts, there's free hot cider, and then there's a cash bar if you want to buy a drink. That's also at the Civic Center. So those are some big events that we have coming up. I would love to see you all attend. They're super fun, and they support a great cause. I can go on and on about some of our online resources and some of the other things we do, but I do want to be fair about your time. So I will stop and ask if you have any questions. Unless you just feel like I really haven't talked long enough, in which case I'll continue. But if you've got questions, I'll take your questions and let you, go on with your lives.
Do you like to get donated books, or are you just flooded with them?
That is such a complicated question.
Huge problem.
So, yes and no. So there are many types of book donors. There are book donors who take a book off their shelf and say, this was a good book, but I don't think I'll read it again, I'll donate it. We love them. There are book donors who say, I have 25 boxes of books that have been in my attic for 7 years, and I haven't even opened them to see what's in them, and I'm going to drop them off at the library. I really try to be a person of goodwill, but we don't love that. Every single one of those boxes still has to be opened. A lot of them have water damage, or they're filled with dust and dead spiders, and people are saying, but I hate to throw away books. And I want to say, so do I. Why are you making me do it for you? So we actually, on our website, that same little thing where it says, how do I, there's a thing about donating, and there's a list of the things that we would like to receive and that we're happy to receive, and the things that we would prefer you not donate. I get that you don't want to throw things in the trash, but not everything can go somewhere else. Some of the things that we would rather you not donate are, for example, textbooks. If the textbook is more than a few years old, no one is going to buy it. And I opened a box the other day and there were these, I think circa 1970 economics textbooks. No one will buy them. We have to throw them away. We get donations of water damage books. Those are not only something that no one will buy, but they are dangerous to the other books. If they get mold in them, that can spread. I have had people donate books that are held together with a rubber band. The book had fallen apart and they put a rubber band around it and they donated it. No one's going to buy it. I mean, you guys love to read. So, yes, if you were in a desert and there was nothing else but that book held together with a rubber band, you'd read it, right? But that desert does not exist. We have a basement full of books. So no one's going to buy the one held together with the rubber band. So yes, I like to get donated books. We find amazing things in the donated books. In fact, the silent auction that we have at Books to Broadway, one of the things we do with that silent auction is that every item has a book to pair with it. And we mostly pull those from the donated books. So yes, we love that. But, sometimes people are calling us saying, why can't I drop off this one box of lovely books that I just took off my bookshelf? And the reason is that we have a mountain and we have run out of storage space and it's a safety issue. So, yeah, I do try to ask people to be a little discerning about what they drop off. But yes, we love donations. They support the book sale. They support Books to Broadway. Occasionally, we even pull books out of donations and we save them. Like say it's a copy of a very popular book that is not being printed as often anymore. We will save it because eventually our copy is going to get lost or damaged, and we can replace it. Yeah.
So it sounds like Stacy, using the list is probably very helpful because I homeschool, so I have a lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's we need this, it sounds like that's a good idea to go through that, not just like you say, randomly with all of this, but just thoughtfully say, hey, you know what, I've got this, and so I'm going to do that.
Thank you. And the list is broad. The list is broad. The list is we'll take fiction. The list is we'll take, but it does say, please don't bring us your old textbooks.
Right.
It says, please don't bring us mass market romances that are more than a few years old. Because sometimes we get a box of Harlequin romances from 1950. Nobody buys them.
No.
So,
yes, okay. That sounds good.
So yes, there's a page on our website that explains all this. Please go to it, and then please bring us things because we do appreciate that. Any other? Yeah.
Do all books have to be in English language?
No, we have a foreign language section. It's very popular.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm just curious because a lot of writers have critique groups. Do you all have rooms where critique groups can meet, just to kind of shut themselves off and discuss their writings?
Yeah, so we have meeting rooms at all 5 of our libraries. You do have to be a nonprofit to rent one of the rooms, but for the most part, it depends a little bit. And so I always have to be careful about this because I'll have people call and say, I want to rent a room. And I'll say, are you a nonprofit? Oh, yes, this is nonprofit. And what they mean is they're not selling anything. But they are not a nonprofit. One example was an attorney who wanted to recruit people for a class action lawsuit. So you do have to be a nonprofit, but we have, for example, there's a church-related Bible book study group that rents one of our rooms once a week. So the rooms are for rent, and they are, let's see, so at the downtown library and the Southwest Branch Library, we have very large meeting rooms. You can rent half the room, you can rent the whole room. The whole room is $40. That's for the whole day. If you are only renting half the room, it's $20. At At the downtown library, we have another small room. It's called our boardroom. It's only $15 to rent. We always tell people library programs come first. You can't rent out more than 60 days in advance. So you can't call us up and say, I want to schedule your board meeting for every Tuesday evening from now until the end of the year. That's not a thing. But yeah, we have spaces. We also, we have people who come to the library to have business meetings. They don't rent a room, they find a table. And they don't talk loudly because they're doing business. But if your critique group is going to meet and you're going to be reading and then chatting a little bit quietly, that's another option for you.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? We do have patios at our southwest branch and our northwest branch. All right. If nobody else has any other questions, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for letting me come talk to you. I did bring copies of the book signing application. I also brought some bookmarks with all those dates for those special events. And I brought some little brochures that tell you about our online resources, because if you have an Amarillo Public Library card, you have access to free downloadable books, to free comic books, to assistance with training in different technology and design resources. There's a lot of great things you can do for free on our website, so I brought you a thing that tells you a little bit about that. Okay, thank you all so much.